Have you ever been playing a song and maybe even you were using the sync button and still the beats sounded all crazy, like nothing was lined up properly? Have you ever had that experience? The chances are it's not because of the track, it's not because of Serato, and it's not because you're not that great of a DJ. It's usually because the grid is wrong. And if the grid is wrong, lots of things get messed up, including beat sync, using loops, effects. All of these things are affected by the beat grid. So today, what I want to show you is how we actually go about fixing the beat grid. This whole video is about editing beat grid, and I want you to stay till the end because there's a bit of a curveball that happens, and I want you to check it out because that way you know what to do if this ever happens to you. So make sure you stay locked in until the end. Let's jump in. Okay, today we're going to go ahead and pull up this song. This is Sunshine Girl by Jay Boog. I'm going to go ahead and drag it on the deck. And you'll see what the first thing is that Serato analyzes it. So it analyzes it. Now, when I'm looking at the track, you might be like, well, coach, this looks great. The one is exactly where the beat starts. Let's listen to it. So now look at the grid. Okay, so this whole thing is going to be off if I don't fix the grid. Now, there's a couple of different ways that we can fix this grid. And it's really important to understand that the grid does not only just affect beat sync. Some of you are like, well, coach, I don't even beat sync. I use my ear. That's great. That's awesome. I really think that's good. I manually beat match as well. The other thing, though, that will be off is any type of loop that I set. For an auto loop, let's say. Okay, so there are two different ways that you can adjust the grid. And let's go ahead and look at this real fast. So let's get back to the very beginning. And by the way, knowing your shortcut keys is going to be really important. So plus and minus is to zoom in and zoom out. Plus and minus. And it's not a shift plus, it's just the plus and minus buttons. Okay, so now let's get a little bit closer. Okay, so where do we even go to edit the grid? The grid, edit grid is right up here. It's a little bit hard to see. If I click on that, now I've got this blue stripe. Now what I can do is it's also giving me these different parameters. So I can set the grid, I can set a marker, I can clear a marker, I can adjust the grid, or I can slip the grid. These are two options that we need to know about. Let's talk about them real quick. Adjust. What adjust does is it either expands or contracts the waveform, essentially. So watch what happens when I do this. Let's say I was to adjust this. You'll notice that the BPM is also moving. Do you see that? Like now I'm at 98 beats per minute. It's changing the BPM. Now, it's not changing what the song sounds like. Right? Like the grid can be moving and it doesn't change the way that the sound comes out of the speaker. It's just changing where the grid markers are. So I don't want to do that. Let's go ahead and hit cancel. And so let's go back to the top. And the second option is slip. What slip does is it moves the grid. It shifts the whole grid. So it doesn't actually move the marks in between. It shifts it to left or right. Okay, so if I were to shift it, which in this case, that's what needs to happen. If I were to shift the grid, I'm looking for the first beat. And probably the better way to do this would be to play it. That's where my beat is. So that's where my one should be. So I'm now shifting the grid to be there. So that's my actual first beat. Okay, so now when I get to here, this 9 should be right about there. And this is probably correct. So now I'm going to hit save. So I want to show you a couple things though, because for those of you who watch the waveforms, this will throw you off, especially with a reggae song or a song that's just not like a house beat that has a kick drum on every beat. I want you to watch where the beat hits, like where the grid is supposed to be and what you hear sound-wise. Watch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2. There's no drum sound here. So what you might start to do is you might start to feel like you need to adjust the grid even more so that the 2 is right here. Don't do that. Remember, if for those of you who have ever listened to the way that I define basic music theory, a beat is a head nod. Really important. A beat is a head nod. It's not a drum sound. It's a head nod. So in this case, specifically with reggae music, let's look at that again. Here, let me pull myself up as well for here. 1. And what I'm mostly focused on is where the one of the phrase is. And that's where this hits on beat again, the one of the phrase. Right? So if we keep looking at this, we'll start to notice that it is, in fact, correct. It is here. Now, you'll notice this too, which is that this says it's 118.2, which probably isn't exactly accurate. This is probably 118. My guess is that it's not 118.2. Every now and then you might find something like that. But I can also edit the grid this way. So if I double click on it and it says 118.2, I could just write 118 total and hit return. And it says, are you sure you want to edit the BPM? This will modify the beat grid. Yes, I do. So now, this didn't change any of the work that I had. It still is here. It's just now what's happened is I'm not having to keep going and shifting this back a little bit. I've set this up for 118, and let's jump in later in the track.
Straight cause you make me phone messing body bad, make me wanna pull up me later. Love to love her. I said forever I'd love to love her. She's a sunshine girl, lighting up my world. What she does to me, she makes me say whoa.
Actually, so this is a good point. So now look at that. That's a little bit off. That is a little bit off. So in this case, maybe it was 118.2. Maybe it was that. So I could go and start to shift things around and make this work. Now, this will start to get very tedious if you're really trying to get everything to be lined up. So here's what I do. I'll give you some advice. Ready? Here's a pro tip. I don't worry about every single part of the song. The only part that I'm really concerned with is the places where I'm getting in and the places where I'm getting out. This goes back to mapping out the song, right? So I want to make sure that the intro is right. I want to make sure that my choruses are right. If those are the places I'm getting out, maybe the bridge is where I'm getting out. So I want to make sure that the grid is right there as well. So these are the sections that I'm most concerned with. So now this is definitely a little bit more advanced, but I want to show you how we can set different markers inside of Serato to have these different areas correct, even if the rest of it is falling off. If during the verse, it's just kind of falling off a little bit, but in the section of the chorus, it's locked in. That's all I really care about. All right, let's come back here and let's look for the beginning of this. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and let's go ahead and set a hot cue here. This is the intro, even though there's vocals on it. Yeah, see, look, it's a little bit off. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's edit this grid. Let's bring this back. Okay, and then what I'm going to do now is I'm going to hit set. I'm setting a marker here. Now what that did is that created this red line here. So that red line is now locking in that section. And everything now forward from that is not going to affect what comes before that. So check this out. So now that I hit this beat grid marker here, pay attention to what's happening here and then what's happening here. Okay, so if I adjust, look at what's happening. Here, let me make this a little drastic. What's happening? Yeah, right? It's only affecting the stuff that is after it. So it's not affecting the stuff that was before that. And that's because I set that one marker. So we want to make sure that I set that marker. Now, in this case,
She's a sunshine girl, lighting up our world. What she does to me, she makes me say, whoa, 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 whoa. She's so sweet, it makes me say, whoa.
that's pretty good. I mean, I'm okay with that. That's good. So I'm going to say, now I'm going to set another marker here. Okay, so I've set a marker. By the way, the shortcut for setting the marker is X. So I've now set that marker. Now I'm going to hit save. So now all of that is saved. All right, so what you'll also see is if there are places where this drifts, which maybe this is actually recorded with a live band, which would also create some drift. And that's another case in which you'd want to edit the grid. So in this part, this says it's 118.3. And then watch what happens in the second section. It may change this. Yeah. And then when it gets into the next section, it may change this as well. So because I set those different markers, it now treats each of those as almost like different tracks, essentially, or different grids. So I have these different grids that are there. Now, again, it really just matters to me on when I'm getting in and out. I probably would not get out of this song right away here with that first chorus, but let's look for the next chorus. I said forever I'd love to love. So like right here is this next one. So I'm just going to go ahead and set a marker here. She's a sunshine girl, lighting up our world. What she does to me. Okay, and I'm going to, let's go ahead and edit this grid. She's a sunshine girl, lighting up our world. What she does to me. She makes me say, actually, I want that whoa there. Let's see. Now, again, as you can see, this will take a lot of the fun out of this if all you're doing is like setting grids. But this is a good thing for you to know how to do. Okay, so it keeps going. Okay, so that whole thing was 12 bars. So I could set this, and using my color code here, this is our chorus. And this is 12 bars. So I set it as a blue mark because that's what it would be in my system, right? So you get the idea here. I'm going to now hit save, and it gives us a better idea of how we can go ahead and set these marks. Now, I don't know for sure if this song was made by a live band. If it was, this type of natural drift would make sense. Now, to the listener, you wouldn't really hear that at all. It's really just comes down to us as a DJ. Now, another thing that I would encourage, if you want to be playing music with live instruments and things like that, it is important then, critical, to learn how to manually beat match. So if that's a goal of yours, is to be playing classic rock music or reggae or just certain types of music, funk, that has a live drummer or tracks that had a live drummer, number one, you could edit the grid. It would be a bit tedious to go through and set all these different grid markers. Number two is you learn how to manually beat match, which is a whole other thing that we're not going to get into in this video. The last thing that I want to point out is now we've done all this work. What we don't want is to lose all of this work. So let me show you how we can lock the track. So if we come back in here, if you look here inside of Serato, There's a couple of ways to do this. For those of you who are on 4.0 and above, I can control click, and this now allows me to enable the beat grid lock by right clicking it. For those of you who are in a version of Serato that is previous to 4.0, like 3, any of the 3 point whatever, what I could do is I could control click. Oh, oops. Command click? Yeah, command click. Sorry, not control click. Command click. If I command click on this little area itself, it will produce a lock, a blue lock right there. I know it's small. We're going to zoom in so you can see this. Now, this means that if I were to analyze my files, it won't actually analyze the track because I had it locked. I think so. Okay, I'm going to say this. I'm going to come on camera and I'm going to say this. I think we might have found a bug. So when you lock the track, you should not be able to analyze the file. Serato should not be able to analyze the file. However, when I had the track locked, in this case, and then I tried to analyze the file, when I dragged the file on, it did analyze, and it changed the grid. So it does do this. Let me show you. Let me show you what I'm talking about. When I bring up Sunshine Girl, let's go ahead and bring that up there. You'll notice that it's locked. The grid is locked. So when I click on Edit Grid, you cannot edit the beat grid. You see that orange banner on the bottom? You cannot edit the beat grid because the beat grid is locked. However, if I were to drag this and drop it on Analyze Files, and I've been messing with this, but like usually this is checked on by default, and I go to Analyze Files, it actually reanalyzed the file, and even though it's locked, it reanalyzed the file and it moved my beat grid, which is very frustrating. I don't know why it did that. It shouldn't have done that. So now I've got to go and reset my beat grid. So what do I do, coach, if that happens? Here's what you should do. You should set the beat grid. You should then lock the beat grid, and then you should just not get in the habit of reanalyzing files. There's no need to reanalyze a file. In fact, with this analyze files, what I do want you to practice, this is a good thing to practice when it comes to actually analyzing files, is if you've got a bunch of songs that you've just downloaded and you now want to analyze these, I would grab them, just the ones you want, and then drag that onto analyze files, as opposed to just hitting analyze files and that'll start to analyze your entire library. So hopefully that helps. In this case, now I've got to go back and reset the beat grid, which I'm not going to bore you and have you sit through that again here. But I do hope that you got something out of this, including watching this get messed up. Now, just so that we're all speaking the same language here, if I look at the version of Serato that I'm on, maybe this is a bug inside of this version of Serato and I just haven't updated yet. This is on 4.0.5, just as a heads up. When we shut this video off today, what I'm going to do is I'm going to update Serato to whatever the latest one was. I'm going to try the test again and we'll see what ends up happening. Do me a favor, in the comments, put if you have ever experienced any issues with grids, and hopefully this was helpful for you. If you need help with any of these grids, I want to invite you to join our community. By joining our community, you are amongst fellow DJs who are looking to grow and level up. This also will give you access to be able to join in on any of these live help calls that we have, where we can actually take your tracks and help you with them. So you're not in this alone. Nobody should feel like you're going at this alone. In fact, we have a saying around here, DJing is a team sport. I look forward to seeing you on our team. I'll see you on the next one.